Hey, what's up, guys? Matthew Morrow with MorrowInvest.com. I'll give a few minutes here to let some people join in. Today, I've actually been thinking about this for quite a while, and it's really been weighing on me. It really has, because the search for yield or the search for a return on your investment has kind of always driven me. And I remember when I started investing, I found that I made better returns than the stock market. And that seemed counterintuitive. But I was always a money guy. I was always financial. And for those of you guys that do not know, I actually was a financial advisor. I had my Series 7, my 63, my insurance license. I was an insurance broker in 7 states, had agents under me. I was a continuing education provider for the state of Alabama for insurance. And so I regularly would run numbers, do dollar cost averaging, IRAs, mutual funds, all that kind of good stuff. And so looking at numbers and spreadsheets was something that I regularly did. Well, when I would do my own numbers, I could not help but notice that a lot of the things that I was doing was making a better return than the stock market, certainly better than a CD or any of those kind of things. So I wanted to kind of go down a list of what CD rates are, what index funds, mutual funds, bonds, municipality yields, all those kind of things are currently for the 2018. And then go over a couple of different business models that have been way oversold very fast, and then also give you some ideas on some predictions and things that I think are on the way, things that are coming. Let me make sure I've got this one note here. Yeah, I do. Okay. So, got my trusty legal pad here, and I've spent a few minutes putting some stuff together. So let's go over this. I'm also, by the way, this will also be in our private investors group, and I will also be posting it on as a YouTube video so that you can come back and rewatch it. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you feel free to us at MorrowInvest.com. You just search YouTube or any of the social medias for Morrow Invest, M-O-R-R-O-W, like tomorrow, Invest, I-N-V-E-S-T. And you can easily find me there. So let's look at some numbers. Now, some of you guys don't like numbers. I love the numbers because numbers don't lie. Now, let me also preface this with most of you guys are not active investors. So most of you, even if you have a 401k, you're not actually the one that's in charge of what goes in or what doesn't go in. You're actually just part of a mutual fund through your 401k, and they have advisors, and those advisors pick stocks, and you probably looked at one single sheet of paper. Even though they sent you a prospectus little book when you signed up, none of you read the prospectus probably, which just a prospectus just tells you what's in the actual mutual fund, but there's over 10,000 mutual fund companies. So what goes in a mutual fund? Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, which I always do. Let's talk first about CD rates. So Dave Ramsey calls these certificates of depression. I think it's just because they're terrible yields. They're very safe. You can go to your bank and get a CD, and you can get little to nothing for them. And the bank then takes your money that they guarantee up to a certain amount of dollar amount, and then they loan your money back to you. So you've got your money in a CD that they're paying, 1%. Right now it shows for a $100,000 CD it's 1.9, but most of you guys are not dropping $100,000 in a CD at your bank. So, we're talking 1% return, which is lower than inflation. Inflation's running 2 to 3%, so you're actually going in the negative. You're just losing your money slower, right? So they literally, you go and you put your money in the CD, and then you come back and get that money loaned back to you when you go buy a car or have a credit card through the bank or any of those kind of things. So there's no return there. It's really just safety net for you. So when you guys signed up for your 401k, they probably showed you, like if you were with Fidelity or something like that, they showed you a one-page synopsis, and it kind of went from what's least risky to what's really risky. And so least risky is going to be your CDs and your bonds, and then most risky is going to be like foreign large cap investment, investing in large companies or something, foreign investment. That'll probably be on the the risky, most risky end. And then you got large cap and small cap companies. And most of you guys, you might not know what I'm saying, but you understand corporations. You understand Apple, right? Apple's a big corporation, one of the most profitable in the country, if not the most profitable. So you've got that whole range. So at the top, we're starting with CDs. So 1%, which again, you're losing money when you include inflation. U.S. bonds right now are running 2.7% for 12 months and 2.94 for 5 years. So again, that's just keeping up with inflation. So a U.S. bond, treasury bond, you're just going to break even. If you look at the stock market, at the Dow, the 10-year yield currently is 3.11. Again, just right there at inflation. And the 1 year is 1.9. Again, so not that great. Even though individual stocks have done better than that. And then, of course, if you're a long-term investor, which if you're in the stock market, hopefully you are a long-term investor, because it's very difficult unless you know what you're doing. And sometimes even if you do know what you're doing, it's difficult. And we could get into strategies on stock picks and all, but I don't buy individual stocks, but that's another story. Anyway, so the 100-year yield on the stock market, the average is about 10%. So over the ups and downs of the stock market, over the last 100 years, it's basically gone up. And so that's what you're investing in. Now, what exactly are stocks? Stocks are a way for companies to raise capital. So, these companies that are building some product or service, they've got, quarterly taxes, and they've got to pay the power bill too, the water bill too. They've got to pay all those employees. They got to pay those, pay to cut the grass at their warehouse or at their office building, right? That's all cost that goes into their business. And one of the ways to raise money for your business is to go public. And when you go public, you can have there's different types of stocks. Some are going to be dividend paying, where they say, hey, if you will give us this money for X amount of money for each stock we give you, we're going to pay you a quarterly dividend, right? Or an annual dividend, meaning we think we're going to profit, and when we do profit, we're going to give you a little piece of that. Another way might be that their value, they're not sending you a dividend check, they reinvest that dividend that they would have paid you. So if they're going to pay you, that 10% that of return that they think that you made, they're going to put that back in, and you're just buying more. So, you might have bought in with $1,000 worth of stock, and a few years later, you're up to, 3,000 stock, right? So that's another way to increase your value. But anyway, so that's basically mutual funds. So we take individual stocks, which is companies raising capital to run their business. So what a mutual fund is me and you and that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. We're all mutually funding. We're all putting our money in the same bucket. So we are mutually funding. So a mutual fund is just built up of a lot of different companies. So when you get if you with your 401k or any company that you think about investing with, certainly if you go to your financial advisor, they should be able to provide you, and they're supposed to be able to provide you with what's called a prospectus. Now, a prospectus is a boring piece of paper. It's a little book that's going to tell you all the ins and outs and percentages of this particular gas utility company, and how much of it is gas and how much of it is electricity and how much of it is water, and right, it's gonna break down the different companies. If it's a tech stock company, a tech mutual fund, it's going to have different tech companies in there, and it'll tell you the percentages in that mutual fund. So that's a mutual fund. An index fund, now this is kind of interesting. Normally an index fund, depending on the index, normally beats actually private pickers. So instead of a individual company that's actually using their information to pick stocks. You actually have a computer picking the stocks. So what an index fund actually does is it's kind of like if the equation says you have to be performing at this rate, the computer will pick just those companies, and as soon as a company doesn't hit the mark, they delete that company and replace it with the next highest company. So you're in an index fund, they're always the best performers in the market. So the index fund market has actually been about an average of 13 to 20%. And most of that comes from the tech industry, which is almost 25%. So a quarter of your index funds have been technology. So where does this lead us to? The problem is, and if you look back, I know it didn't have a ton of views, but if you look back at the video that I posted earlier in the year called The Consolidation of America, what's going on is these big mutual fund companies, everybody's searching for yield. Everybody is searching for a return, right? Everybody needs a return. And you've got these people in local city, municipalities, in large corporations and small corporations, anybody that's picking stocks or buying stocks or putting money into their 401k or their IRA or their Roth, all of those are being invested more than likely into mutual funds. And so these mutual fund companies are getting money every month, and they have to spend the money. They have to buy stuff to put into their, they have to buy stock companies to go into their mutual fund. So they're trying to always find yield. So one of the things that's come up with these investment companies is that anything that is cash flowing and making money, they're willing to look at. Maybe sometimes things that they wouldn't have looked at before. So I've mentioned in other videos, if you started looking at, like, if you've been to a funeral recently and you looked at the funeral home company, when you drive up, it's probably the same name that it's always been, Lake Memorial or something like that. But then if you look at the bottom, it'll say a so-and-so company, and some company has bought it. I bet you in your town you can look at self-storage, and you'll notice that Uncle Bob's or many other self-storage companies have gobbled up a lot of the smaller guys. A lot of the smaller independent mom and pop self-storages have either gone out of business or sold to one of these big companies, right? Because what happens is, and this makes sense. This should make sense to you. So say I'm Joe Blow and I want to start, XYZ business. Doesn't matter what the business is, right? And I have got to have employees. I've got to have an HR department. I've got to have payroll and hiring. I have to have a legal team. I have to have security. I have to have inventory, right? On and on and on. All the things that it takes to do a business. But when a large business can consume another business, well, they already have a president, so they don't need two presidents. So that's gone. They already have an HR department. They don't need a second HR department, so that's gone. They don't, you see what I mean? So they don't necessarily need all those employees and all that structure. In fact, if they're a big enough company, they probably already own their own management company, right? So they're not paying a 10% management fee or 8% management fee. They might only be paying 3% management fee because they already own the management company. This just happened recently in my hometown, and I believe all over, where Rite Aid just got bought out. And I can't remember if it's Walgreens or CVS, but all the Rite Aids are closed, right? Because you don't need a Walgreens and a Rite Aid on the corner. They just bought them. And so they closed those businesses. So now all the business goes to the Walgreens or the CVS. So this is a regular thing. So these companies are constantly searching for yield. And I'm searching for yield. If there is something that I can do, like if you came to me and you said, hey, Matthew, you can do this on your taxes and reduce your taxable income, or, that's why so many people have moved to Arizona, Texas, and Florida, right? Texas and Florida don't have state income tax. right? So there's a lot of people that go into retirement, and that's the top 3 destinations: Arizona, Texas, and Florida. Not only because they're warm, but because they're tax havens, right? And you want to go to that place and don't pay taxes on your income tax, all right? So those are cost-saving measures. So if you could tell me something that increased my profitability, whether it be from a reduction in taxes or whether it just made me more profitable on the earnings end, I'm all about it. So I, just like those mutual fund companies, am also searching. So I kind of lamented in a few videos that the consolidation of America. You've got these big mutual fund companies that are gobbling up businesses and cash flow at a rate that I, as an individual, cannot compete, and you cannot compete. You just can't go out and buy 100 self-storage facilities. You can't do it. You don't have that money. You don't have $1 billion to do a deal. You don't have $100 million to do a deal. You've got, hopefully, you guys that are listening to me don't have any debt. So let's just say that right off the top of your head here. I'm talking about investment money. So you should not be trying to invest yet unless you are out of debt. So if you got 2 car payments and student loans and a house payment and a credit card, and a Victoria's Secret card, and all that junk, you need to pay that stuff off, because what happens is if you're paying 5%, it doesn't matter that you made 3%, right? Because you're losing on inflation and you're paying that in debt. So if you're not paying interest, you're making the interest. So you need to not have debt, guys. So when you don't have any debt, minus your house maybe a car, but I would still tell you not to have a car debt either. Talk about a loser, man. Imagine if we swapped, and I told you about an investment that I had, and I said, I want you to put up $40,000, $50,000 on this deal that I had, and year 1, not only that, as soon as we leave the office after signing the paperwork, that deal just lost 20%. And by the end of the first year, you've lost 40-50% of your value. Like, can you imagine the sales pitch to make that happen? That's what happens in the car industry. If I went and bought a new truck just like the one I have, a Ford Super Duty, 4-door with all the bells and whistles, it'd be $70,000, maybe more. And they would put that thing on an 8-year loan. It's craziness. Anyway, so don't have debt. And then once you don't have any debt and you got some money saved, then you can start investing, and you're going to be looking for yield, which is what we're talking about. So let me tell you a couple of other little fun facts that are going on and see if we can't talk through it a little bit. So the housing market, we've gone up and down. We had a big housing boom and then a bubble, and then it crashed. And then the housing market has been making a pretty decent recovery. Because no matter what the market's doing, people are still getting married, they're still retiring, they're still growing families and having kids, or kids are leaving the house and there's empty nesters, or people are going into retirement. So all those things, people get divorced, get married, all those things are constantly happening. So the housing market has been a pretty consistent thing because all of those things continue to happen. But the inventory is pretty low. So we have 2 things going on. We have inventory that's pretty low, meaning there's not a lot of houses for sale, and then we've got the housing interest rates have been on the rise. They've actually been jacked a few times this year. Now, I know a bunch of people that are really worried about this. I'm not. I don't think it's a bad thing that those interest rates are up. But it's going to push us, it's going to hopefully manage those sales so those bubbles will not bubble as much. Because they're going to have fewer buyers, then they'll have to be more lenient when they negotiate on their contracts, right? So you want to be looking out for that. I also want to talk about automation. 2 things that I think are going to happen. They've happened before. If we go back 150 years to the beginning of our country, early 1900s, we had 95-98% of our workforce was into farming, because we needed them. Well, then we had the Industrial Revolution, and we had all these great, wonderful machines that we created. Well, what happens when you innovate and you create these machines and you create this tractor that can now do 1,000 acres with just one person operating it, and you don't need a whole fleet of people and trucks and all that kind of stuff. You can do it with one person. Well, all of a sudden, all those people are out of jobs. So it's good and bad. There's always good and bad, and that's the way economies work. They grow into these big behemoths, and then they gobble each other up and create something else. Look at Walmart. Walmart was dominant for 25 years, right? From a little guy, Sam Walton, who didn't even get a high school education. Now his family's one of the richest families in the world. And yet Walmart has been getting their teeth kicked in for the last few years from Amazon. And Amazon has continued to grow, right? So that is an innovation. That is, why go to the store when I can just order it online and it shows up at my door? That's great. A lot of these things are happening in grocery stores. When's the last time you went into Walmart or a grocery store and there's 50 lanes open, but there's one person that's manning like 10 self-checkouts, right? I don't know about you. I know, the person that, I want to say I'm going to go through that line because that person needs a job and they need to get paid. But then at the same time, I probably am faster, and I'll just run into the self-checkout and get the stuff myself. And Amazon, I don't know, you can look this up on YouTube. Amazon just bought a grocery store, and they're getting to where they're automating it, where you can walk in and it immediately registers who just walked in by face recognition or a card, like a membership card that you swipe. You go in, you get your groceries. It has all kinds of sensors throughout the place, and it knows what you just got. Put it in your bag, and you walk out. There's no register, there's no checkout, nothing, and it automatically deducts from your credit card. That's coming. That literally, so all we have left is somebody stocking the shelves, and honestly, a robot could probably do that too. So all that innovation is going to continue to gobble up jobs. They've also continued to do that. And there's a double-edged sword to this. You might say, oh, that's horrible, that's terrible. But I remember paying $50, $40 for a t-shirt 20 years ago, and now you can get a t-shirt for $6, $7, $8, right? We have, it used to cost, I remember, when that first plasma screen TV came out, I want to say it was like $8,000 or $10,000. I mean, it was just crazy if you had a plasma screen TV. Now you can go to Walmart and get you a 60-inch screen for $350, $400. So prices, because we're now in an international market and we have people from all over the world making things for us, it has brought down the cost. So even though our income hasn't necessarily skyrocketed much higher, our ability to buy stuff has, right? So I mean, my parents, they barely had a car. They lived in a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, home at 17% interest in the 70s, right? Their house loan was 17%. So I mean, we have a lot more buying power now with our money because we're able to buy things so cheap. All right, so a couple of things that I think that are going to be winners, that are going to continue to win. If you look at the medical field, and I have a note here on Forbes. Forbes had, if you go back to the 1917, the top company in the countries were steel companies, manufacturing. You come to current day, and it's tech by far. So the tech side is kicking the tail, right? So medical field and tech. So tech makes up about 24% of the wealth right now, and then pharmaceutical and medical companies are next. Now, everybody uses tech, and everybody uses medicine or the medical field, right? Now, we have a generation, the largest portion of our population, the baby boomers, over the next 20 years are going to continue to push the market in retirement. That's why Florida and Texas and Arizona have grown so much. And that's why the medical field and medicine and healthcare is so important, and why all that's going crazy right now. Not only because of Obamacare and then trying to repeal Obamacare and then free market and all that good stuff that's going on. Whether you like it or hate it or have an opinion about it, the reality is that as our parents, who I'm 40, so my mother, just turned 70. My dad is 68 this December, and so as the baby boomers get into their 60s, 70s, 80s, and start passing away, that's going to continue to push those different fields. So what's next? I've talked a lot about different types of businesses, and I just want to be as straightforward as possible. And this might not win me any friends, but I'm trying to help. I'm trying to be a mentor and teach people the realities of things, not BS. I want to just cut through a lot of that, because guys, there's so many things that are out there. You can just Google it or YouTube it, and there's all these marketing guys that are trying to sell you stuff, and most of it is crap. Most of it, if you stop and say 2 + 2 = 4, their information does not stack up. So I want to talk about a couple of things. A few years ago, I even pitched this, affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing is basically you get Kim Kardashian. She's an affiliate marketer. So she has 140, 150, maybe more million people that follow her. And all she has to do is product placement. So she's like, oh, this product is the best product. Or she just gives a shout out. Or, she says, oh, I love this eyeliner or whatever. And without saying anything else, in the description below, there's a link to that thing that she used. And because she's so popular, even if only 0.5% of her followers go that moment and they buy that thing that she was promoting, she just made a ton of money. The problem is that you're not Kim Kardashian. I'm not either. Not that I want to be, but I'm just saying, you are the amount of people you have to have in your network viewing you at that time is humongous. It's astronomical. So the average person that thinks that taking a selfie is going to make them rich is fooling themselves. It is very few and far between. We have people connected all over the world, and they're all taking selfies, and you can get lots and lots of views. In fact, I did a video. Maybe a year ago that said, I have an attractive friend, and if she decided to do a fitness/squat video, she would have 10,000 views, and have all her DMs would be full, and people would be following her page and everything. But does that equal any money? No. And a lot of these people, if you can't capitalize on that, which, if I can say anything good about Kim Kardashian and her family, they capitalize on their popularity for sure, right? Donald Trump has capitalized on his popularity. It gives them a platform to speak from, and people listen. So, again, that is something that affiliate marketing, i.e. having a large audience and then trying to get paid from a percentage, is probably not going to happen for you, okay? And, I always say I got 1 in 1,000 sales, right? So just know your numbers, and if you do decide to do that, if you do it because you love it, that's awesome. But if you're doing it because you're trying to feed your family or pay your bills, you need to run the numbers. If you don't know how to do that, that's something that I can help you with. A lot of people are pitching, again, YouTube and social media. So Google owns YouTube, and Facebook and Instagram and all these things. They have changed the marketing schemes. So they let you get all these followers and viewers, and then they cut who sees you. So you've got 10,000 followers, and they might only let 800 see your post. And what happens is they then make you pay, make you boost your post, or pay to market to the people that are already connected to you. It's crazy. And then, of course, there's all these algorithms that they use. You got to get enough to be trending to try to go viral because they want you on that front page and all that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of work. You can, on Instagram, you can pay for bots that are automated likers. They take other people's pages and they like your post and do these fake hollow comments on your page, right? And again, what is the actual return on that is very minimal, very, very little. And the reality is unless you're promoting, now if you're using it as like I do, as a free resource that you can use to get your platform out there and talk, like right now I'm through YouTube and Facebook, I'm allowed to or able to connect to literally anyone in the world that has an internet connection and can find this page and view it. They can get the information out. So in that sense, it's great as free advertising. If I just decided to say, I'm going to take my advertising dollars and I'm going to go buy a billboard out here on Highway 9, how many people are going to see that billboard? Well, only people coming from one direction on the side of the road and given traffic, blah, 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 blah. Only a certain number of people. But when you're on the internet, everybody can see you if they can find you. So in that respect, as a free marketing tool, I think it's great. I think that you should view it, though, as a free marketing tool. Most people on YouTube, out of the millions and millions and millions of users, the majority of people, by far, far away, do not make their living using YouTube. In fact, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Google redid their algorithm again, now you have to have, I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers, maybe 2,000 subscribers, and you have to have 100,000 minutes or something like that to watch. That's just even before they'll allow you to monetize your videos now. So, and with that being another company, they can change the rules anytime they choose to. It's their company, right? I'm just being allowed to use it as a free platform, but YouTube or Facebook or any of these other companies are companies, and if it's not in their best interest, they can cut it, right? So that's a lot of volatility in your market, just so you know. Another thing is marketing companies. Oh my goodness. I get told about every fourth swipe on Instagram or Facebook is a post directed to me because they want to sell me marketing, right? So these marketing gurus, what they do, and you can look up any of them, Ty Lopez or there's another guy, I can't remember his name, but there's a bunch of them. And if you ever click on one, get ready because they're going to, Facebook and them are going to use your information quickly to send more marketing people to you. So they basically do a little example like this. So they're going to say, I'll just tell it to you. So they're going to say, how much value do I have if I can wash dishes? Well, you don't have a lot of value because it's not a very high skill, and almost everybody with little to no training can do that position, right? So because it is a low priority skill, in our market, it does not pay that much. But if you can run the floor and slam dunk from the three-point line like LeBron James, you're worth millions and millions of dollars, right? So these marketing companies tell you that you can make between $6,000 and $10,000 a month by selling marketing packages to these people on the internet, right? So you go to local companies and you sell them. You go through their training and they teach you how to package a marketing package that you sell, and it's gonna do a Facebook post, create a Facebook page for them. It might comment, it might link, it might track views or impressions, or show you what an influencer you are. But I mean, the majority of people that are listening to this, that's not what you're going to do. And that's also, what are you going to do? What are you going to do in your little podunk town? Like, most people don't live in the big cities, right? You've got a lot of rural people in the country. So what are those people going to do? What are you going to do? And even if you are in a big city, I remember I was just telling somebody today, when I graduated with my accredited business degree in 2000 from Auburn University in Montgomery, I remember sitting there and I was just, man, I was so ready to get out. I was so ready to get out. And I was sitting here in the graduation ceremony, and I was just tapping my feet. Everybody else was just sitting calmly. Man, I could not wait to get out of that room so that I could be like, I have my degree and I'm graduated. It hit me while I was sitting there that, and this again, 2000, the market had been crazy great in the 90s and was still pretty good in 2000. I mean, it had some little bumps, but it was still we just kind of felt like it was always going to go up. So times were good. This is before 9/11, right? When the crap hit the fan. But I'm looking around and there's 400 other people getting management degrees. And then I'm thinking, this is just one of 3 graduations of just one school. This is just the business school, right? This isn't education. This isn't nursing. There's other schools at AUM having graduations as well. This is just 300 or 400 students in just the management department. And of that school, there are like 7 or 8 other colleges that are also graduating students in my home city. So what would their answer to be when you were like, well, where are we going to find jobs? And again, times are good. Where are we going to find jobs? Oh, you'll go to a bigger city like Atlanta. Doesn't Atlanta have 10 times as many schools since they have 10 times as many people? Yeah, they do. So that's not a very good answer. And now, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I hope somebody hears me out there. What are you going to do? It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter what the mutual fund companies are doing. It doesn't matter. You are what matters. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to feed your family, to pay your light bill, to make it to the next day? That's something that you've got to figure out with your family, your financial advisor, somebody, right? The government's not going to save you. I mean, they might provide a safety net. If you fall on hard times and, get on welfare, that they'll help you at the bottom. But, I mean, is that where you want to be? I mean, if you don't want to be there, you got to figure out, how do I make a living, whether going to work for someone or doing another business? Let's talk about one more business. And I know this one's going to, if anybody watches this, I'm going to get in so much trouble. Multi-level marketing companies. They do not make money. The company makes a ton of money, but overwhelmingly, just do a Google search on any company you're thinking about doing business with that wants you to sign up as a multi-level marketer. And they'll call it a pyramid, they'll call it MLM, they'll call it all kinds of different things. But basically, if you hear something to the effect of, hey, we got the latest, greatest, newest, most amazing thing, you're going to get in at the ground level. This is exclusive. Right? You got to get in while the getting's good, because this company is set to explode, right? It's going to be so amazing. So, it's good if you're at the top. And yeah, if you're at the bottom. When you get to sign in, if you're on the ground floor when it goes in. But, here's a stat for you. So, the Ronanandfields ladies that have made millions and millions of dollars, that started with their acne business and then turned it into what Ronanandfields is today, the overwhelming majority of their 250, 300,000 reps that have signed up, half of them didn't make a dime. Not one penny, not one time did they get paid out. So the average person, the average income from Ronanandfields, if you average out their income for their reps, is about $3,000. I don't know about you, but I need more than $3,000 a month to float this boat. So they sell it like a lot of companies do on the freedom. You'll have all this freedom. In fact, I listened to a lady one time sell, I heard her, I was at Starbucks and I heard her, She talked for an hour, and never mentioned money. It blew me away. It blew me away. I'm a money guy. As soon as you start telling me about a deal, I'm like, wait. Tell me about the money. Tell me the numbers. Because the numbers don't lie. You can tell me a few things and I'm like, carry the one. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea, or no, it doesn't. Right? But these people will get you to sign up, and they'll sell you on all this. And the reality is those things, for the most part, do not make money. Now, if you're a super go-getter and you're signing people up left and right, and you're good at following up with your base, and you've got 10,000 clients that you've accumulated over a 3-5 year period, yeah, you can drive the pink Cadillac. You can make a living. But guess what? You're a business owner. If you hustle like that in any business, you should do well. Okay, so it's not because it's Reinvent or some other multi-level marketing. It is you. You are the one that's making that happen, right? Because you're having to go out and make those sales, make those relationships. That is just giving you a structure in order to do it. Believe me, I've researched these things. I researched multiple companies where they were like, what's the one? My brain just went blank with the pink Cadillac that I just mentioned. I looked at signing up with them. Because they had it would be their name.com/Matthew Morrow. And I thought, man, if I have, 65-70% of my audience are female audience members, I'll be glad to send a link that says, hey, I'll give you 10% off, Mary Kay. Mary Kay is the company. I'll give you 10% off if you'll follow this link. And any of those people, again, that'd just be another income stream for me, which is what I would want. But it doesn't work that way. Because you don't get paid if you're not actively engaging and involving new people, because that's what they need to make their stuff work. All right, so I got 3 more points. I'm going to try to finish this up for you. I get long-winded. The average views are like 4 minutes, but maybe it's lethargic for me to just counsel myself on trying to help others. So trying to help others is what I'm still trying to do. I used to do free seminars with insurance. I really wanted to educate people on what they were buying, because I just thought it was so crazy that people would buy into things that they didn't either know about. Even smart people that I considered good, smart, knowledgeable people, would just go off and do these crazy things. And I'm like, why would they ever do that? That makes no financial sense. And yet they do it. I have people come to me, and I try so hard not to be a Debbie Downer, but there's people that get really, really excited about any given business, and that's great, but I need to see the spreadsheet. I need to see the numbers, right? Because your passion is great, but your passion's not going to pay the bills. At some point, you have to be able to convert your passion into actual financial products, whether that be a service or that be a product that you sell, right? That's all you got. Okay, so 2019's coming. We're about to hit Thanksgiving here next week. And then of course, nothing will get done business-wise hardly. So you'll have Thanksgiving. People are going to be busy. People will be with their families. I hope you get to be with your family. And then we'll go into Christmas and then New Year's. And then bam, we'll be into 2019. I can't even believe it. I mean, 19 years since I've been out of college. It's just flying by. I have nieces and nephews that are old enough to get married now. It's crazy. All right, so here's the 3 things on 3 things that I think are the absolute best things that you can invest in that you're going to get a return off of, okay? So the top 3 things that you're going to get the most return out of. Number 1, be your own boss. If you are going to be an employee, then you are not going to make the most money. That's because the company or corporation you work for, they are the ones that are willing to take the risk to start said company, which is why they are going to get the majority of those returns. Now, most of you are employees. That's what most everybody does. Even to this day, my father still quotes to me, you need to find a good job with a 401k and benefits. But if you're going to really make a lot of money, you have to learn how to be your own boss. You're going to set your own hours, you're going to set your own schedule, and you're going to make yourself the most tax advantaged. So if you're an employee, what happens? Before you ever get your paycheck, they took taxes out, and now you have what's left, right? But when you're a business owner, you get to use your money first, and then after you've paid everything, all your expenses for running your business, you pay taxes on what's left, okay? So instead of paying the IRS first, you pay yourself first, and you pay the IRS what's left. I like that way much, much better. So that's, again, number 2, making you most tax advantage. Number 3, you're going to get the best return on your investments. So I went over earlier on the first half of this conversation, I went over all these different returns from CDs, bonds, municipal bonds, the Dow, the stock market, and index funds. And my spreadsheets, I have beat those averages. So by managing my own investments. Let me tell you, you might not even think of this as an investment, but so what if I have a cousin that flips golf carts. He'll buy a used or broken golf cart, he'll fix it up, and he'll sell it. Is that an investment, or is he just piddling? I don't know. If you can turn $250 into $1,000 in 2 weekends, I don't know any mutual funds that do that, right? So that's real money. I used to flip cars, and I still will make an offer on a car. I instruct my students, if you go look at a potential rental property and the person that's passed away or whatever, their station wagon, they don't even make station wagon, I'm aging myself, their car, their Buick is still sitting in the driveway, I make an offer on the house, but I also make an offer on that car, right? Because if you wholesale a house, what are you going to get? $1,000 to $10,000? Well, if you buy and flip a used car, you can make that much too. So you can make as much, an even better percentage, buying and selling a car than you can on a house, and it's faster. So I'm just telling you that just because it's not in the norm, just because you're not, with some big mutual fund company, does not mean that you can't invest in what you know, right? I have another cousin that builds swings. He gets pallets for free and creates all kinds of creative things and sells them through Facebook and makes a full income off of it, right? So there's lots of things you can do to be your own boss, spend time with your family, and make a better return on your time than your job. Another thing is you can move on opportunities faster. So when you are your own boss, you're not this giant company that has so many hundreds of moving parts that to make a decision it has to wiggle its way all the way up. You can make a decision pretty fast, and so you can move a lot faster. I would encourage you, when doing your own business, to not reinvent the wheel. Okay? People are going to get sick. So, pharmaceutical, nursing, doctors, we're always going to need those people. Food service, people always have to eat. So, all the way from a farmer growing something to a company putting it on their sandwich and selling it, that industry will always need people. Utility companies, we're always going to need power. We're always going to need water. We're always, for the foreseeable future, going to need oil and gas, right? So don't reinvent the wheel. If you just come out with the best idea that you've ever had, maybe it'll go viral. Maybe you'll make a mint. But there's a lot more stories of people doing average stuff like cutting the grass, cleaning someone's house, being a painter, being a handyman, doing construction. There's a whole lot more, vast majority more stories like that than there are somebody had some great amazing idea and it changed the world. Most jobs, most things that you can make a good living at and have a good return on are commonplace things. How can you serve somebody? So if you can figure out what your area, doesn't matter, like if right now you're in New York City, they probably don't need their grass cut right now, right? Snow's falling, so they probably need people to shovel out their driveways and sidewalks, right? So there's your business. So I mean, you're not necessarily cleaning out many pools, but you're scraping sidewalks. Again, so it doesn't matter where you are, just figure out, and it might not even be what you want to do, but to get the returns that you want to make a good living, you have to be opportunistic and take advantage of where you are and bloom where you're planted. The grass is not always greener on the other side, I promise you. A lot of times it's just people that are hardworking and smart that will do for their community where they are. And if you can learn to do that, there's opportunity. No matter where you are in the country, there's opportunity all the way down the line. I mean, we could just go over company after company after company. And, in my first book, 30 Jobs in 30 Days, that's kind of what it talks about. Like, just look around and you can easily find things and you just do some quick multiplication, to make $50,000 a year. Again, $50,000, if we took 50 weeks, 2 weeks off for Christmas and Thanksgiving, you took 50 weeks, that's $1,000 a week. That's $200 a day. So if you can figure out how to make $200 a day, which, how many houses would you need to clean? How many houses would you need to paint? How many houses would you need to do the hedge or pine straw or cut their grass or insert service, right? If you can make $200 a day, you're going to make $50,000 a year. You want to make $100,000 a year? Make that $400 a day. You can't make $400 a day? Work 6 days a week instead of 5 days a week. Take a day off for Christmas and Thanksgiving instead of 2 weeks. It just gave you more 2 weeks. So there's ways to make the math work, and it's really not that difficult. It is difficult. It's a lot of work. But if you get a little bit of knowledge, which is, of course, number 4. The number one thing that I think that it will give you more return than anything else is if you invest in knowledge. And I'm not talking about going to college or university. I'm talking because most of those places teach you how to be a good employee. They do not teach you how to make money. So if you want to learn how to make money, go to somebody that makes money. It's amazing. Go to somebody, and I guarantee you, if you know somebody that makes a ton of money, I bet you 9 out of 10, they own their own business. Now, yes, there are people that are in local and city government that make a lot of money, or they're in a corporation of some kind where they have a high position and make a lot of money. But most of your average Joes, the guy that owns the plumbing company, electrical company, the roofing company, those guys that make a lot of money work for themselves, the overwhelming majority. So if you want to make money like they did, you have to go and talk to them. So I would tell you to pay for mentors. I'm a mentor. I pay for other mentors for me so that I can continue learning. And I'm happy to say that even though it's the up and down, over the long haul, things have continued to go up, right? So let me close out with one thing. Don't forget our private investors group. If you want to talk about things like this, we had a question that came up today about LLCs. And again, we got to talk about that in our private investors group. So this video and other videos like it go into our mentorship docs. So if you're one of my mentorship students, any kind of content that I create or questions that I answer, all of that information, all of that research and gets mutually put into that mentorship folder. And I believe it's a very, very good benefit for those people. I also have my children's book that's coming out, and it's just something little that I put together. I wanted to involve families and kids and try to get people talking about their finances, and so it's just a little nice little children's book that I've put together, and it'll be finished here in the next 2 weeks, and I'll have it for sale hopefully by December 1st. I'm gonna finish all that stuff up. It'll be free for you that have Kindle, subscribe to Kindle through Amazon. You'll be able to read it for free, and otherwise you can download it or purchase it for paperback. And I'm going to try to make it as affordable as possible. So this book is not to try to make money. This book is just for awareness, and it's just something fun I thought I would do. So I'm going to put the actual money down as low as Amazon will allow me to still print it. So whatever their minimum print cost is, that's going to be the cost of the book. So hopefully $10 or less. Still have a private investors group, still have our mentorship, still have our book. Guys, I hope that you are encouraged by this. If you are an investor, an accredited investor, we're always looking for capital. If you are someone with an idea but you don't know how to get it to money, you don't know anybody with money, talk to me. We'll see if we can't help you figure that out, put you with the right people. And knowing who you can trust is it's huge. There are so many people that'll just take advantage of people. So if you have an idea and want that idea to get some real feedback on whether it's a good idea or not, let's talk about it. Find me on any social media under MorrowInvest. You can email me. You can contact me through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or email. My information is everywhere, so you shouldn't have a problem finding me. Guys, as always, say a prayer for me, my family, that we continue to hopefully be good examples and lead others and continue to hopefully provide you good information. Things that hopefully you didn't have to spend hours and hours researching, but that you could just come here and get a consolidated view of what 2019 and the future is going to look like financially, the different types of investments and things that you can and can't be a part of. I hope that blesses you. And guys, pray for me. I pray for you guys. I want more and more people to connect with and to bless those people's lives. I have an amazing life. People ask me all the time, I really do have a great life, and I want you to have a great life too. And hopefully we can do that together. So join me in the mentorship group. Join me in the private investors group. Purchase one of my books. Be a part of my family. And guys, I hope you will have an awesome day. God bless.